Welcome to PokerOrg's The Interview. This is Craig Tapscott. I'm here with Shannon Shorr. Shannon and I worked together many times over the last, 25 years, I think, Shannon? And you've
Yeah,
done so
20
much
years.
in the industry since then, and you're running hot this year, as you did right after the beginning of COVID. So I wanted to grab you today and see what your momentum was going into the World Series, talk a bit about kind of making PokerGO your ATM this year. You've been running really good and playing really well. And it seems like I know you had a sort of energy change. I read an article about you in 2021. You had a chance to kind of reset, work with Andrew Lichtenberger, a friend of both of ours, and do some things around 2021. You had a great year, beginning of a great year. And now you're having a wonderful year. So I wanted to share with people this year so far. Shannon won an event early in January at the PokerGO Studios, last chance event for $290,000, $10,000 event. Then he went on to get second in a PokerGo Cup event in February for 165,000. Second again in March for 110,000 at the Win Millions. And then this month has been kind of crazy. You've won. It's hard to imagine. Three events. You won the $1,700 event at the Circuit event, your first Circuit ring. You were so excited to talk about that when you shared that win for 207,000. Then you won a $10,000 event for the U.S. Open, and you just won 529,000 for the U.S. Open at PokerGo just a week ago or so, so about 10 days ago. And your final table was against Landon Tice and Nacho, right? So what's
Mhm.
been going on? What the hell's been going on this year? It's like you're eating your Wheaties or something's going on. It's like a crazy year. You start off with a bang, and you've always been a great player. But we talked about it a little bit, and I did read, so I'm going on because I read like you made some changes in 2020 when you had downtime with COVID. What's been going on this year besides just really running good?
Mhm. I've been working really hard on my mental game for the last 2 years or so. I mean, I've always been trying to level up my game, but it was in 2024 where I committed to doing 1 year alcohol sober, and that I made it through, and I'm mostly alcohol sober this year as
Congratulations.
well. But that allowed me to develop some like really positive routines, like neuroplasticity training, breath work, ice baths that I know I never would have been able to do had I continued drinking. So that really helped me like get in a really relaxed state of mind, which to me is really important when you play poker because there's so many layers, particularly live poker, because there's so many layers to the game that you need to be aware of. So yeah, those good routines most days before playing. I'm waking up, doing breath work, and doing that brain training. That's been huge for me. So when I sit down and play poker, I'm like completely ready to just. There's no other world outside of the poker table.
So you're
So
really
that's
focused on the moment, moment by moment.
very much so. Yeah. So that's been huge, and then the momentum aspect, which is ever present in the tournament poker world, just being able to, you know, having run hot, I'm able to like fully trust myself in decisions. That's huge in tournaments. I'm not subject to like if I make this wrong decision, it's gonna like impact my I can't pay my mortgage or I'm gonna continue to be in a big downswing. Things have been going really well, so I just have been able to trust myself and make some hero folds, make some big bluffs, make some big calls in situations, and it's been a very pure experience. I hope it can continue through the summer.
Yeah, it's been amazing to watch, and I've really been blessed to have worked with you for so long. So, can you go? I did a couple things about what you talked about, a little more detail to help players out. I have also known Chance Corneth for a long time, and he shared with me in a cover story I did with him a couple years back that he had become sober also. He had given it up, and it made a huge difference in his game. I don't know if you knew that or not, but I was
Hmm.
curious. Oh, so how? And a lot of poker players are late night guys, a bit of party animals, especially when we were younger. What By dropping the alcohol, what were you noticing month by month? How it was improving both your game and your life, and maybe relationships with your family. What were the
Hmm.
little things that you started to notice when you left alcohol out?
I think just waking up feeling amazing every day versus feeling pretty meh on a lot of days. You know, alcohol just messes with your dopamine levels so much, has them sort of swinging violently.
Right.
So yeah, just waking up and feeling good every day is, and being able to consistently put up good results, to be able to trust myself to get done whatever I needed to get done, whether it was in poker or on my to-do list or with my family. You know, that just really helped me build a lot of self-confidence, and it kind of carried over into poker for sure.
And the neuro work, the brain work, can you be more specific with the kinds of things you were doing? I'm very familiar with that kind of work, even with supplements that help with all that. So I'm curious about your regimen.
Mm-hmm. So basically, yeah, I train. I have this device here. I'll show you actually.
Okay, I've seen that.
Yeah, so
It's
I
a
wear
balance.
the.
It's balancing the left and right sides, or
Um, so I train these different sort of nodes is the wrong word, but these different points on my head, and
right.
yeah, I haven't nerded out to the science too much, but I have a coach who essentially like teaches me or guides me as far as which one to put it on, and I'll essentially watch this app, and if I'm not paying attention, I can watch whatever I want. So I'll just binge a Netflix show or whatever, anything that I'm interested in at the time. So when I as I'm watching, if I like lose focus of the show, the volume will go down and the screen will become dark. So essentially, it makes my focus like you have to focus in order to, and it grades you based on your ability to like focus on what you're watching. And that has just been like some of the best stuff that I've done. I just feel like my brain is functioning at such a higher speed having started this uh, 10 months ago, probably.
Wow, it's fascinating. Oh, you're going to start a fad now. We're going to see all these guys show up at the series with this on, just like Chance had the nose thing on last year. You're going to have everybody. Oh, Shannon wore it. Shannon's already won a couple $1 million. I think it's working for me. So that's very fascinating. So when you lose focus, it makes you go, "Hey, wait a minute! You're not focusing your brain." So it means you're just tuning in to the moment more, or you feel an adjustment in your being when you're doing this. You know what I'm trying to get at?
Yeah, like I notice the results in like whether it's like watching sports or reading or even hanging on, focusing on a conversation that I like may have otherwise in the past like given up on and not stayed as zoned in on. Yeah, I just feel like my ability to like lock in to whatever that single thing that I'm encountering
Mhm.
is just so much better.
Yeah, I'm always fascinated by this kind of work. And then talk a bit about my background is I'm certified in Kundalini yoga from years and years ago. So tell
Mm.
me about the breath work a little bit.
Yeah, so my wife has been shilling me breath work for a while. She's yoga certified, and she went through like an Ashtanga program.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've done any Ashtanga. I've
I
recently
have.
started doing some of that. That's some really awesome yoga as well. But yeah, she was shilling it to me, and I'd always been like a meditation type person, but I was like kind of doing it on my own, just like taking 10 to 12 minutes a day and following my breathing, but I'd never done dedicated breath work. And eventually I followed her advice and started following this YouTube video. And then with the same company that I do this brain training with, they have this apparatus that I'll show you that as well while I'm here.
It's hooking into your heart or what?
So this band wraps around
Okay.
like so.
Like a polar monitor.
Yeah. And then I have an app that I will follow a certain cadence, like 5050 will mean inhale for 5 seconds, 0 second hold, exhale for 5 seconds, and this device uh, will tell the app like how I'm doing based on that cadence. And
Right.
I have the same coach for that, and I have a breathing plan that I follow. I do that for about 8 to 10 minutes per day
That's
uh,
so cool.
before playing.
And then we're talking about all of this, and then ice bath. Do you doing the ice baths every day? Is it
So
just a wake up call or what?
I was This year I've fallen off the ice fast a little bit. Last 2024, I was doing it a ton. I was doing it probably 4 days per week. Yeah, generally fairly early on in the morning, and I have mine outside here in Vegas. So depending on the time of year, I'd try to let it get a little bit warmer outside. Like I was even doing it during the winter through some pretty
Oh,
gray
down.
days, and that was in which case I'd try to like wait till around 11 a.m. or so and let there be some semblance of sunshine. But yeah, generally in the morning to start my day, it was just like the best possible way to start a day. I plan to
Have you
get back
seen
on.
Have you seen this new fad of people sticking their face in a bowl of cold water to wake up?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, it's a new hot thing there. I guess it's supposed to wait. Besides waking up, it's supposed to tighten your face and do wrinkles. I mean, people of all ages, men and women, are doing it's crazy. So I guess it's one way to wake up, maybe better than coffee. What do you have any? Because I'm always fascinated by top athletes and things like that, or what the procedure is to take them into. They're the best in the world at basketball, football, whatever it might be, and then what do they do to maintain that? Do you have a regimen of your diet that you've adhered to for a number of years? Because obviously you're very much into sports and athletics. I'm curious about that too, because that does affect
Mhm.
your mental game.
Yeah, I've never had like very specific like I follow this plan or this plan. I just generally try to build really good healthy habits. So I'll generally just like I don't eat much junk food ever. I'll pig out sometimes, like have a pig out meal of pizza or whatever it is. But yeah, I generally just try to eat healthy and avoid like I don't drink sodas or anything. And just try to avoid sugar almost entirely. Try to eat good foods. I'm not the most knowledgeable as far as dietitians. I just try to put good things in my body.
Most of us know what's good for us and what's bad for us, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, have you tried the intermittent fasting thing, or do you just when I probably dropped from like 22% body fat when I was like overworking, like when I was 40, down to 7, I was eating 7 meals a day. That's what they used to do that to rev up the metabolism. But the new thing
Mhm.
now, most people done for a number of years, is the fasting type thing. And I've also fasted for a number of days. Have you experimented with those kind of procedures or at all? At all?
Mhm. Only recently did I have my first experimentation with fasting, and I really enjoyed it. I need to get back on it because yeah, I definitely felt really good. I was doing 1 day a week. I was doing for a couple months. I was doing a 24-hour
Well,
fast,
that's
and that
good.
was kind of nice. Just to I think learning to delay gratification and learn to deal with discomfort is worth a lot across everything in life. So yeah, I was feeling really good doing that. I was actually when I won one of the PGT events, I was on a 24-hour fast, and I was just feeling really good at the final table.
Wow, that's got to be a little tough not having any carbs in your brain for that. But I know
Yeah.
what you mean. When I work with people for fasting, I'd recommend one day like you did, then 3 days because about the second day you might get a little headache, so like a little like pain, and the third day it's almost like you're coasting and you feel high. And then
Hmm.
you also realize how powerful water is. So if you
Hmm.
go 2 or 3 days and just you go into a movie to watch a movie and your energy gets low, you grab some water to drink and all of a sudden it's like an energy drink. So it's kind of fascinating the way, and the body's sort of resetting too. So it's kind of a
Hmm.
fascinating process. So try 3 days next time, maybe
Hmm.
before the World Series, and then you can give credit to me when you win 3 bracelets. So something like that.
Sounds
Well,
good. You're saying to do like one 3 day fast just randomly.
yeah, full plan it because you want to plan around not playing. You don't want to be at a final table on a 3 day fast because you will feel depleted. And don't do any heavy lifting. I don't know if you weight train like I do or whatever heavy lifting. Plan those 3 days out with your family to just have an easy, restful day and just do water. Some people do a juice fast, but I kind of like just a water fast and spring water, spring water in glass, and just see what that feels like. And then you break the fast with maybe just some fruit or a smoothie, not something like jump into eating grass fed meat right after your fast, because your digestion needs to warm back up uh,
Hmm.
and get back into you know, proper alignment. So yeah, that's one thing. I've done 10 days, and
Wow.
that's 10 days on water only. That's crazy.
Wow.
Just experimenting. I want to know how I felt.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun to tap into the human body is a wild, wild thing.
Yeah, and how it affects your brain and energy. But it made me think about, so you're doing all these things, but you've got such a wonderful support system. You share around different social media, your wife, and you just had your daughter is what, 4 years old now, or 3 or 4?
3.5-year-old daughter and a 1.5-year-old son.
And we talked about a couple years ago about how this, share with us how this has affected your life in poker. You have all these young guys like Chance and a lot of other friends are having daughters that, guys like you I met back when you were in your early 20s. And now you're 40 and you've got a couple kids. How has it changed your life? Has it been more pressure because you feel that you have to take care of your family, or at the same time you've got this amazing support and able to walk away from poker, play with your children, and then come back and play the game whenever you want? I mean, what's it been like with that kind of
Hmm.
family lately, with especially with a newborn?
It's been a little bit of both. Like as I first began, like as my daughter was, we knew we were having my daughter. Like I definitely felt that pressure. Like, oh my god, I can't fuck this up. I have a huge, if I start losing a ton, now is not the right time. And then once she arrived, and once I sort of had this vision. So early on in my career, when I was just like playing poker, and I didn't really know what my life was going to look like as a 20 something. There was like you didn't really know what your life was going to look like, so like you didn't know what pieces to take. I was just kind of going through life like firing these big pieces, and now I very much like know what my life is going to look like and what my expenses are like, so I can kind of like play at the level like if for bigger stuff that I don't feel comfortable taking all the action, I can sell some action and just sort of I know what I can handle volatility wise. So I
Hmm.
think that's really important as a poker player. Like I recommend this to all players is like making sure you're playing within a level that at a buy-in level that you're comfortable, because it's so easy to if you're playing above your head, even if you don't feel at the surface that you're making decisions. How to say this? Yeah, I feel like when people are playing above their head, they might not feel at the surface that they're playing too high stakes, but in their subconscious, they're gonna like make these folds because they're playing like above their bankroll. So I always stress to players to like play within your bankroll and build your skill set, and then just like slowly creep up, and then eventually you make it to big stakes, and you can take bigger pieces or play it. But high stakes tournaments are always going to be there. There's no rush to like jump to the biggest stakes. So
Right.
yeah, having a family has just been it's awesome to have such a great support system. It's I'm fortunate that the to live in Las Vegas and be able to like commute into town and then come home and see my family and stuff. It really feels a bit like a real job, and yeah, dream job, obviously.
That's really cool. I remember you've been with her a long time, right? You guys have known each other a long time. Am I correct?
Yeah, we've been together 11 years.
That's a long time. I mean, how does she help you along the poker journey? I mean, a good solid support, whether it be a great friend or a great wife or girlfriend, is always important. So, what are the things that she does that you really value from her during this journey with you? I mean, obviously, I assume you've had some rough times too, up and down in the last 11 years as far as variance, like every good player. So, I'm just curious
Hmm.
what you value the most from your wife.
Yeah, she in the first 3 years Joy and I was together, I was like my graph was just straight down. Basically, I was like, I promise I'm a winning poker player.
I
So yeah,
promise.
she was with me through like the roughest time of my career and stood by me by that, and then she's continued to stand by me as I've gone through the inevitable downswings in your mind when you're going through these downswings. And having gone through them, having been in the business 20 years, I've experienced all sides of success and the pain of the downswings and stuff. So like when you start to downswing, you sort of, I think your brain takes you back to those really rough times, and so it can put you in like really weird emotional places. But yeah,
Yeah.
she's just stood by me all this time, and she takes care of all the my laundry and cooking and most of the stuff related to the kids, where I don't where I can just play poker. If I had to also do a lot of that stuff, it would be really tough to play poker at a high level. A lot of the middle of the night stuff, dealing with the kids, she does that as well. So
Right.
yeah, that's the things that I'm most grateful for.
I saw you and a post. I don't know if it's Instagram or it might have been both on X. You brought home the big Eagle trophy, and you're sharing it with your children. It was pretty amazing to help you put it up on the shelf and everything. So I'm sure they don't know yet quite what it means, but the joy of you coming home after a big event at PokerGO, which is kind of a cool place to play, right in your backyard, and you have an opportunity with all the series there. Um, Sharing that, how did your daughter react to bringing home that big trophy? Did she look like she had fun?
Yeah, they both absolutely loved it. They were running around it and posing for pictures with it. It was pretty adorable.
That's pretty cool. What do you value? It's really cool the last few years able to have. It's grown and grown and grown with the studio at PokerGo. What do you and they have a beautiful space and obviously great dealers. What do you value most about just able to go there? Because we only have this series now and then. You have some circuit events that you won recently. We'll talk about that. Come there for the WSOP and the win events. But it seems like PokerGo, you seem to feel like really at home there. I look at, from the number of years you've been cashing and doing well at that space.
Hmm.
But you're also playing against some of the best players in the world are there. The Chidwicks, the Lichtenbergers, Alex Fox and Kristen's there. So it's also got to be an interesting atmosphere with all those people hanging out.
Yeah, I absolutely love playing in there. It's, as you mentioned, like the group of players, it's a lot of people who've been around 10, 15, 20 years. So a lot of us know each other quite well. So the conversations in there, it's always bubbly and everybody's laughing and having a blast in there. So that's always really fun. And then you have to compete at a high level and continue to test yourself against these very tough players is great for building your skill set for sure.
I was going to say, do you enjoy the challenge of, because I would think any great sports, for any sport, I did playing golf, against going up against a great player, even one that might be better than you, the Chidwicks or the Foxens. Andrew's a great player, and we'll talk about him, one of my favorite players for the last 20 years also. Um, when we talked a bit about, you know Landon well, but when you're going to go against some of these amazing players, do you just like put on your game face a little more, or you're more like intrigued? Like, what do you learn from sitting down? Like any great athlete, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, they learn from each other, right? So I'm
Hmm.
curious what you learn from going up against these amazing people.
Yeah, I always try to be really present in these type events at the table and just like watch everything that goes on, because reality is these very top players are still human and they're still going to have tendencies and there's still stuff you can pick up from them and learn from them. So yeah, I always enjoy if you do get one of these ridiculous table draws with like five of the very top players, like you can still sit there and there's lots of stuff to learn that you can use later on in your game and that will benefit you.
Yeah. And you've also been, which I've been very proud of you, been very humble throughout your career. Uh, how were you? Did you grow up in sports? You talk about Alabama, correct? You grew up there.
Hmm.
I grew up in the South too, and probably had a similar upbringing. You seem very humble and appreciative of everything that comes your way. Is something that your parents instilled in you, or something you learned early on playing sports as a 12-year-old like I did? I mean, talk a bit about your upbringing, how it's affected you and catapulted you into this career of poker. Because I know you dropped out of university, correct, to play poker, if I recall.
I did later finish at the University of Alabama, but I took a break.
Okay,
But yeah, I grew up in Birmingham. Both my mom and my dad are just incredible humans. They're both just complete bosses in their own way, and they're both super humble. So I think is probably that being impressed upon me probably had a big effect. They both just always got the job done and whatever was put in front of them, and never asked for any credit or anything. They just kept grinding through. So that was huge. Yeah, I played sports all growing up. I played everything as a kid: baseball, basketball, football. Eventually settled on baseball in high school being my main sport. But
right.
uh, yeah, I had a high school baseball coach. It was a really good role model in that way about not being flashy and just going to work and getting the job done. I also remember just like I never like looked at. I always found it like an attractive quality in those that were humble, the people that like watching sports, the guys that were like beating their chest and like looking for all the admiration. Like I always thought like, what is it? why is this guy doing this? Why doesn't he just like let us play, do the talking?
Right.
So yeah, probably I'd say those things formed it in me.
That's really cool. And I was reading the article that you did a few years back about what was happening right at COVID, and then you made a surge in 2021. And I think you worked with Andrew Lichtenberger, a friend of both of ours, Lucky Chewy, who's also a very centered, meditative, yoga centric type person, and very much into energy, and just a also a very sharp, smart individual. Can you talk a bit about what you were learning working with him during that time?
Hmm. Yeah, that we started talking a ton. We've always been friendly throughout our careers, but I never like really connected where we were spending that much time together or talking that much. But I knew that over the years, whenever I did have like hand histories that I wanted to talk about, he was always more than willing to talk. So when COVID happened, I knew I was going to have to play a lot more online poker. So I started playing a lot more online. I knew I needed to like become a more uh, technically better player.
Mhm.
I'd really fashioned myself more as like a live feel energy type player for most of my career. So in 2020, I started. He helped me get into solvers a lot. We spent endless hours talking GTO strategies over the pandemic for a few years, which was extremely helpful for me in sharpening my game GTO wise. And then I was sort of able to blend, my all of my live energy exploit type play with a fundamental like theoretical uh, very good baseline knowledge of the game.
Mhm.
And that's kind of when my game really took off, I would say.
So you had a great year. I remember reading you had a really good year that year. So how do you go about your choosing the events you're going to play around being with your family, being at home, also taking a break from the game? How do you choose the events you're going to play in?
Hmm. Try to play most of the good. I mean, if most, if not all, of the good stuff that happens in Las Vegas. I'm trying to kind of schedule breaks. I basically lay out everything on my schedule that's in Las Vegas, and then I'll look for breaks and schedule vacations or downtime around those events. So
Mhm.
there's that, and then I've had a lot of success in South Florida at Seminole Hard Rock, so I generally try to make the trip over there around three of their four major series per year. I try to hit. And then there's some tournaments in California that I try to hit, like WPT Rolling Thunder and maybe something
Have
at
you
Commerce.
at Commerce here? Have you thought about? I mean, it seems like you're entering bigger and bigger tournaments. You thought about going over to Triton? That some, Bryn's had a success. Alex has had success there, and
Mm-hmm.
Jesse Lonis, who's a really interesting, fun player to watch too. Have you
Mm-hmm.
thought about going over there? Is it a bigger investment, or talk a bit about that?
Yeah, so as I was building my family, it wasn't really an option. These last few years, it's like it was very important to me to like be close to home and make
Of
sure set the
course.
kids off to a good start. So it wasn't really on my radar. Now this year, it kind of becomes something I'm a little more interested in. The reality is, that it seems like only the Asian versions of the Tritons are really like the most. Are justifiable to sort of travel for based on value. The European ones are just chocked full of all the best European players, whereas the Asian ones, you get some recreational player or a lot more recreational Asian players.
Right.
Um, and you really have to, the reality another reality is there's very often like something good in Las Vegas during that, so it's like the opportunity cost of missing something like that, whereas Triton, like in Las Vegas, I can almost certainly take all of my own action. Where if I fly across the world to play Triton, I have to take a much bigger piece for these smaller ROI events
I see.
to justify. Like I have to take on a huge amount of risk, which I'm okay doing. I don't mind volatility, but it's like it's kind of a big trade off. If ever there was a year, this would be the year. Having had such a huge year to kind of go for it. I don't really care about the glory or of tournament poker these days, so it hasn't like I'm not attracted to it in that way. Like I'm not gonna if I'm never a Triton champion, I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it.
Right.
However, yeah, I may. It could happen this year since I'm having such a big year that I decide to maybe even take the whole family over to Asia in
It'll be,
September.
yeah, it'd be a fun investment for you. Talk a bit about that because maybe a lot of regulars or recreationals don't understand how, obviously, you've got a huge resume getting staked and how that all works. Can you explain maybe of how that would work with an investor? Obviously, people know you've got a huge resume and you're a good bet to invest in. But how would a small stakes and mid stakes player go about maybe getting some help from some smaller events? Because Daniel talked about the high rollers. You have to make 12 million to break even. Did you see those articles? I don't know if you read those articles. You say you don't pay much attention, but he's just mentioned that recently, that it has changed expenses and what you have to do to even break even in playing the high rollers like that.
Hmm.
So as far as how a player would go about getting staked or working with a group, how would they go about that?
Yeah, so I guess you kind of need to build a resume. In my case, I have at least one interested party who I'm able to. I just deal with him.
Right.
Uh, as far as a mid stakes player, like finding that, I'm not the best person to ask. I mean, I know there's sites. I know people sell action on sites and stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
Ideally, you find one individual or a few individuals who would back you. It used to be like as I was coming up and trying to play bigger events, I would like take to group chats or take to Twitter and like sell action to for these bigger events to like 10, 12 individuals. But that takes a lot of time and it involves like collecting money from these people and going to the bank and stuff. It's much easier if you can get in a position where you're just dealing with one individual. That said, it's like you kind of need to build a resume to find these type people who will take that much action. And yeah, it's true. It's true about how these buy-ins really add up. I kind of like a lot of people try to portray poker as uh, all this glitz and glamour of these millions of dollars and stuff that are won, but there's so many buy-ins that shrink that number up, buy-ins and swaps and taxes that shrink the number up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm just kind
Um,
of curious. Do you wish Hendon Mob or Card Player, all the ones that have been tracking for all these many years, had, or would you maybe not want that, a P&L? Like this is how much they invest, in bought in. This is actually how much they, not including all their expenses, food and travel and like that, but basic,
mhm.
profit and loss. Daniel says every year what he did for the year. He's just one of those players. But I also understand a player is nobody's business. But if Hendon Mob just factored in all the buy-ins that someone made along with all the caches they made, you probably have a more realistic picture. Is that so? It's so in a bit of a way, it's a bit of a fantasy. Whatever, like you said, people making these millions of dollars.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
would
you
love.
really should have your own backyard jet. You've made almost $17 million.
Exactly. Yeah. And, yeah. Somehow my account doesn't have 8 figures in it. I don't get it.
You don't have
Um,
17 million in your bank account. Oh, you have a
um,
standing desk. I mean, those are expensive. But so so would that be kind of? I think I heard someone bring that point up. Would that be something you wouldn't want to see? That, oh, these are reflective of all the buy-ins that Shannon did for 2024. These are all the cashes. What he actually made, not counting other things, home cash games, or other things people do. But it would be kind of interesting to see the bottom line of everybody, and maybe it wouldn't be so, like you said, glitzy or fantasy.
I would love to see that. Yeah, I'm all for everything poker and life being represented as authentically as it actually is. So
Well, you
yeah.
seem to live your life like that. You seem to have a group of friends. Did I see you guys at a hockey game? You were at, was it a recently?
Yes.
You enjoy going to the sports there in Vegas too. Do you have a group of friends you go see games with? I know Daniel's big into the hockey team there.
Yeah, there's so many. I've got so many poker friends and around town that usually there's somebody up for having some fun.
Do you ever get to hang out with Matt Savage? He's a hockey warrior too.
Yeah, I actually bumped into Matt at the hockey game the other night.
Yeah, I give him a hard time. I want to beat him in golf, so I just got to practice a little bit. Shouldn't be too hard. I just need to
Uh,
practice a little bit. That's all.
he's a tough one to beat in golf.
Oh, you think? Oh, do you play golf?
Play a little bit, yeah.
A little bit. Okay, I've got to practice, get ready for the summer then. So you seemed so excited when I saw the articles written about you and your recent circuit win. you've been working real hard to win your first circuit win and your first ring. You've won two or three bracelets. How many?
So I have two bracelets. That was actually my second ring. It was my first live
That's what
ring.
I meant. Your first
Yeah.
live. What did that mean to you to win that there, the WSOP Circuit live event, the first live event? You won one of the ring, yeah.
Yeah, it was an awesome experience because it was such like a cool ring to win. I don't play WSOP circuit events unless they're in Las Vegas. Like, I don't travel for them or anything, so
Right.
I don't get that many opportunities. And even the one in Las Vegas, I only sat the main and the high roll, like the 2200 high roller and the main. So you don't get a lot of opportunities. And then to win like an 800 person, it's rare that you get an opportunity to win an 800 person tournament as well. So yeah, it was just uh, super cool to make a run like that and in the main event of a circuit. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Are you going to come and play the Tournament of Champions? It's $1 million free roll. Come to LA for a couple days or no?
I'll be there.
You are coming.
Yes, I'll be there. Mhm.
That's really
I'm
cool.
gonna
You
fly
just
in
you're
the morning of.
That's really cool. I'll be there. I'll play a couple events. First time I played in a long time, but yeah, the Tournament of Champions is going to be fun.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I'm gonna fly in the morning of, and then I'm gonna play the main event, and then my wife and kids are gonna drive down to LA and meet me. We're gonna do a little SoCal vacation.
Very cool. Where are you going to go?
I think we're gonna hit Legoland.
Oh, that's perfect for them. Yeah, Disney and Legoland right down in Anaheim there.
Yeah, and then probably spend some time in San Diego.
You've been around California a lot, I would assume.
Hmm.
Do you have some favorite spots that your wife and you like to go to?
Personally, I really like the beaches of Southern California. I'm not huge on like being up in the congestion of Hollywood and all that stuff. I always find I get super anxious and I mean, it was fun when I was 20 and chasing girls around there, but nowadays I'd prefer to just stay on the outskirts, stay down towards the beaches.
Yeah, me too. I live near the beach, so I go to Hollywood very rarely. So the one thing I've noticed at the table, and maybe I'm wrong here, that I saw you wearing sunglasses. It's not something you've always done, is it? You wore
No,
maybe obviously the bright lights. I saw Kristen wore those red sunglasses last year at the WSOP. The bright lights are can be hurt you and also be distracting. Is that the reason you're doing it, or is this? Tell me, I'm curious. I don't think have you always worn sunglasses at the tables, or
no, most of my career I didn't. The last 4 or 5 years or so, I'll do it from time to time. It really depends on a few factors for me. Kind of depends on the players I'm playing against. There's different reasons that I may wear them. Also, the lights. Yeah, that was definitely a thing. I found it particularly bright recently at the PokerGO final tables.
right?
If a number of players are wearing sunglasses, I may throw them on. So yeah, a few different factors. I always keep them on me, and I kind of just feel it out.
Okay, I was just curious. I was reading where you talked a bit about the momentum that if you're having a rough time, this is really fascinating to me for any kind of sport, any kind of endeavor, even in businesses. If you were having a rough go of things, whether it be in your life or in the game of variance, and you're having a rough time, that you mentioned that you feel that your subconscious would be effective and you might not pull the trigger on a decision that you would normally make. So,
Hmm.
how do you approach understanding when you're having maybe a rough few weeks in life or in poker to understand where you're, because everything is a choice and everything is a decision, especially at the poker table. When you understand, like, oh, I would usually pull the trigger here, I'm not, so I am going to. You know what I'm saying? The back and forth in your brain going, I
Hmm.
understand why I'm worried about pulling the trigger because like you said, maybe I need to pay the mortgage this month, but I really need to pull the trigger because that's the right move to make. How do you how have you trained yourself to recognize these moment to moments that happen under high pressure situations?
Hmm.
Long
Yeah,
question,
I'd
but I was
say
curious. Yeah.
yeah, it's a good question. I'd say like the experience of knowing, like being able to articulate the fact that it's something I know that I have dealt with and that others deal with, I think is big. It allows me to like know that that dynamic exists when I'm running bad.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I just try to dial into that if it's a big moment, and I think like, oh, am I really going to fold this huge hand here? I may think to myself like, is this because like I really need this moment? Really like can't afford to blow this moment. So like a thought like that may enter my head and may sort of sway my decision in a spot like that, I would say.
And you're aware of it more, and you're able to say, wait a minute, where's that thought coming from? Because so many things bombard us in life. It's going emotions, billboards, advertising, distractions all the time. So you've talked about, it seems like it's been a huge benefit to you to use this focal focus you've been doing, the focus on the diet, and so many different things that you've taken your decision making to another level that you've experienced, well, at least, and it seems to be in the last few years, because your game is really catapulted. It's not just running well; it's you're doing things. Obviously, you're like watching a very experienced athlete have another gear in them. You know, we see like a Kobe have another gear and go, oh, that's his another gear because he was very disciplined and worked night and day. Michael Jordan. Are you? Where do you go with this now? So you developing these skills. You're doing this work. What's the next step for you? What do you think you need to work on right now?
I kind of want to just like run with what I have right now. Just get as many reps as I can, like in this, like while I'm in such a great state of mind. Because as you know, like in life, like it can often be fleeting. Confidence can be fleeting, or you know, happiness can be fleeting. So I'm trusting the process. I just want to like keep doing what I'm doing. Keep playing good tournaments when they come up. Keep trying
Right.
to once I try to view life, poker and life, as just like it's just decision point after decision point after decision point, right? So I just try to like put myself in a position to make as many good decisions as possible, and let the variance sort itself out.
You seem also to be very balanced emotionally watching you over the years. You're not like high on one end or low on one end. Is this something you also learned from your discipline in sports or perhaps other adventures you've done as you were younger?
It's a
No, I
good
mean, you're not a robot
question.
at the table. You're not a robot at the table either, but I don't see you with high highs and low lows. And some players, it's entertaining to see, that are very emotional at the tables. But you seem to be very even, very grateful, similar to what Andrew is. Seems to be always the same way, Lichtenberger. Maybe you've learned from him, or maybe it's your sports training. I'm just curious, and probably in your life, in your relationship with your friends and your wife, too, understanding when your emotions are unbalanced and able to bring them back with some sort of conscious effort, if you know what I mean.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a good question. I'm trying to think what like actually or how I got that training. Probably sports and just like knowing there was always another play to come. You can't get too excited. Being in poker from such an early age, I've got so many reps, and I learned to deal with the swings. Playing high stakes online from like a very young age. I was swinging like very wildly, so I got to know like I knew that the like great moments were going to be fleeting, and like the lows were never going to be as low as they feel, or as bad as like you think they're going to be. So
Right.
yeah, I just tried to like stay in the moment. I've done like lots of meditation, as we've talked about, that type stuff, to just try to stay present and enjoy each moment as it comes.
No, I think it's huge. Who were your early mentors, just to go back a little bit? Early mentors, I mean, you left university, early mentors or heroes in the game that you looked up to and learned from, maybe your early days, probably now 22, 24 years ago, whether it be online, because there was a big online presence at that time, or in the game that you were inspired by.
Hmm. John Little was my first mentor in the game. We met playing on Party Poker when I was a college freshman in 2004. We were playing the same Party Poker sit and goes, and we met uh, via the chat feature on Party Poker, and then made moved our conversations over to AOL Instant Messenger. And he was just a huge. He was ahead of me at the time by like 6 months. He'd been grinding a bit longer. Yeah, so he was a huge mentor. at that time in my career. And then a few years later, when I was a couple years later, I guess, I hit a rough patch, and Eric Basebaldy Baldwin, a longtime friend of mine,
I love
he
Eric.
became a huge mentor for me. Yeah, awesome guy. He was a big mentor for me for a year or so at that point in my career. And then later on, Lucky Chewy for sure, around pandemic time. So I'd say those are the three biggest mentors I've had in my career.
Yeah, I've worked with Jonathan many times. Such a solid, positive person. I really enjoyed, experiencing working with Jonathan. What
Hmm.
look at some of my notes here, so you can help other players overall improve their game. What are some of the you play with a lot of recs, a lot of recreational players at these kind of circuit events and local events in Vegas, and especially in some of the big events at the World Series. What are a few points you would give them? We just talked about what to do in a big event like the main event, but overall, like the top two or three leaks in their game that you see they have that maybe they can improve upon. I'm sure you notice them at the table. You're watching moment to moment. You're not on your phone. Um, what leaks do you see that they need to plug to be a better player?
Yeah, it depends on the player a little bit, but for a lot of players, they come to Vegas and they they sit in a World Series event and they like really want to play hands. They didn't come there to, not get involved in hands. So a lot of people just come and start playing every hand, trying to make hands, and they brick or they make second best hands and have to end up paying off. That's a huge one that you see very often in the smaller stakes. So I would
Right,
say patience is worth a lot. For others, it might be the case that they, flew in from Middle America or whatever, and they only get this one event. So it's like very important that they don't mess it up. So they will um, not want to get their money in. They'll just be way too tight. So usually there's people on both sides of that scale. The idea is to be somewhere in the middle, where you're mixing it up a little bit, but not not torching off your ships.
right,
So yeah, kind of depends on the player type, but yeah, I think you need to, like, if you're playing poker tournament, when you sit, you need to be prepared to play and prepared to get involved and be able to like accept the accept the consequences if you bust.
right.
Uh,
How can they use? How do you use? I mean, obviously, people sit down with you. Then most of them probably know who you are. How do you use and your image at the table? Chance recently told me in an article that he thought that was one of the best things that's improved Kristen Foxen's game, who made the great run last year. That she really understands her image at the table and definitely uses it to her advantage.
mhm.
So how you're a very solid, seems like a somewhat, maybe I haven't met that, somewhat quiet um, presence at the table, but a strong presence. So how have you learned to use that at the tables?
Yeah, I'll sort of just try to. I pay very close to attention to people's energy. If I beat them out of a pot or if I'm running over a table, you can kind of get a sense of who's over it, or who's like, if anybody's like looking to bluff you. You can kind of like, it's hard to exactly articulate it. It's just like a feeling at this point. Having done it for 20 years, you just sort of feel out these
Right,
dynamics. But yeah, it's obviously super important to know how you're being, how people are perceiving you,
so what right
uh,
now,
both in poker and life.
sorry, yeah. What right now is the most fun for you? You're having a great run, and you've had many of those in your career. What's still fun about poker for you? What do you enjoy the most?
Uh, you there?
I'm here.
You
I know if
Okay, great.
you might have
Yeah, the
frozen
most.
for a second. Go ahead.
Yeah, I love poker like more than ever right now. I think just like the added experience, and like you get, the great thing about poker tournaments is you get a novel experience each time versus like live cash games. I never really got into because I didn't like the culture of it, like the same people. And whereas tournament, you're going to be playing with a different lineup like every time, essentially different blind levels. The you get to play at different stack depths. That's what's always drawn me to live tournaments.
Right.
Yeah, I would say just the novel experience each time is enough for me. Like every day when I'm driving in to play poker, I'm thrilled for the opportunity.
That's so cool. So what's the end game here to sort of wrap up everything we talked a bit about? Where do you see yourself? Do you see you like a Doyle Brunson? You won't be in your little cart running around, playing when you're 80 or 90. Like he was amazing. Do you see yourself? Do you also invest? Is probably a two-part question. Are you involved with other businesses and investments and enjoy that part of your life, but do you also look to what's your goals right now? You've done very well. Do you have goals to win more bracelets? You know how driven Mr. Helmuth is. What's the end goal for you in the game? Just enjoy it every moment you have, and all of a sudden you're 75 and go, "This has been fun. Maybe I'll just play now and then." So what's in your head when you think about those things?
hmm Mostly the latter bit that you just said. I don't have any specific goals like I need this many bracelets or I need a WPT title. Like I'll play my family's first, and that's like what I'm I really want my life to be about, like having as much fun with my family and like getting these kids off to a great start so they can succeed. So that's like my first priority, and whatever poker I can squeeze in, which hopefully is a lot, will be awesome as well. I'll play as much stuff as I can in Las Vegas. I'll travel occasionally. I'll play WPTs as I can. I'll play internationally, rarely when I can. But yeah,
Right.
I I keep myself in pretty good shape, so I could easily see myself, continuing to do this for 20 years full time. I do invest uh, traditional investments, crypto. I own real estate, etc. So I've
Right.
got that type stuff, and then hoping to play a little more golf and keep working out, maybe some pickleball, bowling, all those type things.
I know pickleball is picked up. Sean Deep challenged me last time when he was here last WSOP Circuit, but I couldn't get away to play. And I really only played a couple times. It seems like the hot thing people are doing, and I would think Vegas, unless it's indoor, would be pretty hot during the summer with pickleball.
That's true. Yeah, it's so hot out here in the summers.
We'll have to get together. I hope we do some stuff. Come by the PokerOrg Lounge this summer. We have there, and I'm hoping that we can do a bunch of us can get together, maybe hit some balls, go top golf, or actually play or something. I need to practice. I need to make some money off Matt Savage, so somehow just need to practice. I got a golf scholarship to college, and I like you. I also quit college and went back again to study theater and entertainment and stuff like that. So we both have quit college and gone back. So
Uh-oh.
it's been an interesting journey. I've always had the greatest respect for you, Shannon, and you've always been open to talking about anything and everything. I really wish you the best in your career, your life. And it's so wonderful to see you happy with a family and playing well and just enjoying every moment, which is really, I think, one of the biggest things we all can do: slow things down and just enjoy the moment. So thank you for joining me here today. Did you lose me?
Thank you so much, Craig. Loved our conversation. Yeah, you broke up quite a bit there, but I caught some of it. I appreciate the kind words, and yeah, that was great conversation.